Hello and welcome today to today's version of Leaders Communicate Clearly. Our wonderful guest speaker today is Dagmar Bryant. Now, Dagmar Bryant is a Ph.D. out of the UK. She's an Australian-based motivational speaker on business, success, and she will take you where you need to go to get your calculated risks managed so you can be a successful person. Now, Dagmar has a wealth of experience in inspiring positive transformations through insights, tips, and strategies. And we're going to be digging in her brain today for some of those. So a couple of things that we need to look at here is, why is it important? What is so special about communication strategies when it comes to working with businesses or other people? So tell us, Dagmar, who are you? Why do you do what you do? And why is it so special? What do we need to know about it?
Daniel, thank you so much for having me on the Leaders Communicate Clearly Summit. I'm a business coach and I absolutely am super passionate about helping entrepreneurs, in particular female entrepreneurs, to escalate their business and to really help them to achieve their goals and to get further than where they are at the moment.
Okay, well, do you have any tools, techniques? I mean, you say you're passionate about getting female entrepreneurs moving forward. So how does communications come into that? What is the thing that you deal with these clients of yours in their communications process to move themselves forward?
Absolutely. Great question, Daniel. And I do absolutely have a system, and it is the Essential Empowerment System. And there are a number of different modules in that, and I'll go through and explain a few of those as we go. But I believe that it is really important to start at the very beginning, and the very beginning starts with ourselves. And the problem that I see with so many courses and workshops that are out there in relation to communication is that people want to jump in the deep end and get all the way to the end without doing some of the core work. And one of the things that I believe very strongly in is having a look at our values and realizing that everybody is different in terms of their values. Now, what do I mean by values? Values are what we place importance on. They're the things that matter to us. So people will have different values. They might be values around, for example, honesty, integrity, sustainability. And that matters to our communication because we are going to be so much better with our communication if we can understand a little bit about where the other person is coming from. So it would be no good trying to communicate to a person who has a value of freedom from the perspective of security. Let me give you an example. If someone were to say, Daniel, I'd like to offer you a job, 9 to 5, 8 till 6, might be a few days here and there. I want to offer you great security, and it means that you're going to have a steady paycheck. But if your value is freedom and what you really want is flexibility, then that's not going to work for you. So in any kind of business relationship or personal relationship, even any kind of negotiation, we need to understand a little bit about what is important to the other person to make sure that we are meeting their needs, because then that communication is going to flow a lot easier. And remember, communication isn't just about what you say, because I recently did some research on this, and there was a Princeton University study done back in 2006 with a lady by the name of Janine Willis and Alexander Tordoff, and they basically said that it takes 1/10, not even 1 second, 1/10 of a second for us to form an impression of whether we're going to like, know, or trust a person. Now, that's phenomenal. And as a speaker, I know very much that I have 7 seconds before anybody is going to turn off with anything that I say. but 1/10 of a second to work out whether we're going to like or trust somebody. That's pretty astounding.
Okay, so that 1/10 of a second actually goes both ways, right? It can
Yeah.
be well, using it in a business context, it can be the manager interviewing a prospective employee, and it's also the employee interviewing the prospective manager in some way, shape, or form, right? So, so when we kick this off, let's say I'm the manager and I want to sit down and find out what the needs of this employee are, and you were mentioning the two things, security and freedom.
Mhm.
So how can I go about without being too diggy in there and find out what this is with the person? I mean, there's only so much you can talk about in personal lives and an interview. So how can I get this started? What can I do to make sure I have some sort of an idea what direction this person wants to go?
Well, I would say it's all got to do with the kind of questions that you ask. And we know that with any kind of, you gave the example of a job interview. With a job interview, there's going to be professional questions that you're going to ask with respect to their hard skills, but then you can also ask about some of their soft skills. You can ask about some of their habits, their likes, their dislikes, and that should give you a fair idea of where they're at, where they are, how they are communicating, how they are doing in their day-to-day life, and how that might potentially transfer across to a work scenario.
So something as simple as asking this question of what inspires the individual. And if they come up with, well, I really like being punctual in what I do. I have a list and a schedule all day long, or, this upcoming ski event is going to be so fantastic. We're going to be
Yeah.
able to get a rough idea of what direction we can go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of their hobbies? What do they like to do when they go on holiday? Do they like sitting at home and doing absolutely nothing, just winding down? As you said, do they like going on a ski holiday? Do they like being punctual? Do they stress? How do they de-stress? That's a perfectly good question as well.
So how can we take this whole process here? You must have a process. I'm imagining that when you take a client, you sort of start them at point A and you're going to work them all the way to whatever point they're going to based on your conversation with them. So how do you get this started and what's the blocks we look at to get to the end result?
Okay, so the first part of the module that I was speaking about before is actually called Examine. And we have within that module what I call the steps, and steps is an acronym, the steps to success. And that is where we have a look at a lot to do with ourselves and what our motivations are. The next process in the module is called Evaluate. And that's where we look a lot at our beliefs and our inspiration, even our outcome. It's called the B.I.O method. And it is something I did want to touch on today because I do believe beliefs have a big impact on our communication as well. Do you mind if I go into a little bit about beliefs?
Well, absolutely, because we all have them. And whether we know it or not, our beliefs do create the foundation of who we are.
Absolutely. And I just did a LinkedIn, a social media post on this today. I absolutely believe that beliefs equals, sorry, no, other way around, our experiences form our beliefs. Now, what do I mean by beliefs? Our beliefs are formed usually from quite a young age, and they have to do with the things, again, it kind of is about what matters to us, but it's where we get our experience from, it's where we get our knowledge from. Let me give you an example. If you are very young and you have a scary experience with falling off a horse, you might form that belief that horses are scary or that they're to be afraid of. Same with spiders, cockroaches. You might have a scary experience with a monster as a child, so that you are then later in adulthood afraid of the dark. So this is, again, a belief formed on in our experiences. And our beliefs can actually change. So we can choose what we believe. But in terms of communication, what I believe is important is that it helps us with our communication when we understand what's going on with somebody's belief. if somebody has a belief around, let's say, money, that money, I'm sure you've heard this before, that money is the root of all evil. Well, how did they get that belief? And is it even possible to break that belief down? So when you're communicating with someone, you want to understand where that belief came from, and is it a foundation that can be worked on, or is it something that needs to be shifted? And a lot of this has got to do with mindset. So when we go into my program, we definitely look at mindset as well. We look at inspiration. We also evaluate. Now that I already gave you evaluate. Sorry, evolve is the next step. So we look at how are we evolving over the years? And if we're looking at a career change, if we're looking at moving into our own business, then we definitely want to look at how can we leverage the skills and the knowledge that we currently have into a new career and then make that happen for us. And again, communication is so important as part of that, because in this instance, communication isn't what we say. It could very well be what we put on our resume. Does that all make sense?
Okay, so what I basically hear you saying is starting at the beginning is basically right in here, or right in here.
Absolutely.
We'll look at it. We are the start. We are the beginning. We are the creator of our own world. So therefore, we need to know what it is we want to create, right? That's how we get going with this.
Correct.
And you have this system, this process you bring people through where they take bits and pieces, they're like Legos, and they start building on them, and they start putting this package together, right?
Absolutely. And the final step of that system is actually called execute, where it is about putting everything together. And in that system of execute, we look at something that I call the AVID, A-V-I-D method. And we look at visualization. Again, there's a little bit of inspiration there. It's all about action, though. It's how do we put it into place? Because it's all very well to say, I want change, but if we're not taking action, then it's not going to lead it to any results. And I want my clients to have those results, which means action and putting things into place to make that happen.
Well, you bring up a very good point here, and I see it a lot. I see many people who says, well, I watched the movie about it, or I read the book, or I watched the video series, or I took the course. And you said, well, what did you do about it? Oh, well, nothing. And I says, well, how do you expect to change? And I'm sure you see people like that too, who read it, saw it, think about it, but have done nothing about it. And why am I not getting any change? How can we sort of get them to get on that right track there, get in the right car?
I think a lot of that has to do with their motivation. What is their why for wanting to change? And that goes back to the very beginning. We want to look at themselves at the very start. When I said before, we don't want to be skipping to the end too early, because if we don't do the work on ourselves to start off with, which is our values, which is our why, then we're not going to continue to have that motivation to go and make it the long distance, because this is what this is. It is a marathon, not a sprint. And so that means that we want to be creating long-lasting change, as opposed to, oh, I'm doing this for 5 minutes. No, we don't want to be doing that. We want to also set up all the steps and processes to be able to have that long-term result.
So when you're talking about steps and processes, I think I hear you saying a little behavioral change in some way, shape, or form, because, well, there is no magic blue pill or magic red pill. There's no magic button to push, even though we all want it to happen that way. But if we don't change, then we are never going to be able to accept whatever it is we think we want, right?
Yeah, it's interesting how you said that. And it is absolutely about wanting to make that change, most certainly. There has to be that desire for creating that transformation, and that comes from within ourselves. Nobody else can give that to you. And as you rightly pointed out, we can read the book, we can go to the seminar, we can do the course, but if we don't keep that going, the results aren't going to be there.
So what can we do? Because my background is as a senior infantry drill sergeant, and no matter how much motivation you wake up with in the morning, by the end of the day, that's pretty gone because your backside is barking and you want to go to bed. So then that comes down to the discipline. Okay, we can be motivated to do something. How do we get them disciplined? Is there some sort of framework that you can look at here to keep that excitement going, or if anything, to keep the discipline in place so they can finish?
I firmly believe that there is a method, but not just inside the system that I've put together, but also in terms of the coaching. And I know a lot of people in the coaching industry say this, but I absolutely know that it's true, that we do better when we have a mentor, someone else who can help keep us on track. Now, that can also be an accountability partner, and coaching in that way works a lot better when you do have that accountability partner. Sorry, I should say your business works a lot better, or your goals work a lot better when you have that accountability partner. As you say, your motivation can wax and wane, whether it's through the day, over the weeks, over the months. And we are not robots. We are going to have those situations where sometimes our motivation is going to be really, really high, and then it can come down, 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 and all of a sudden we're going, "Pooh," and we feel like, oh, I just need to have a day in my pajamas, just want to watch Netflix or movies or whatever. And I think in some instances that's actually okay, because we're not robots. We need to, perhaps recharge our batteries, but we still need to get on the horse, so to speak. We need to get back on the wagon. And that means that it's about getting back on track. So if you need to have one of those, an hour, a day, whatever, that's okay. But then you still need to have your why pulling you back to put you back onto your track, whichever direction that is that you want to be going, that's going to move you forward.
Okay, so we've discussed a lot of theory and idealization of things that we can put into practice, but how do we put it into practice? We conceptualize what we want. Now I need to make it happen. What are the tools? What are the mechanics that I can use to start putting this plan in process?
I absolutely believe in visualization, in creating a plan, and not just, it's not so much a business plan as it is a plan. And there is a reason why it's good to have check-ins, to see, almost like project management, to see where you are at a particular point in time. So this might be your 3-month goal. This might be your 6-month goal. This might be, oops, I'm outside the screen. This might be your 12-month goal. And you want to have progress checks to see how you're going. So in terms of implementing these things, you don't want to have one big, hairy, audacious goals. You want to have little stepping stones towards your goal. So that's definitely one thing that I would suggest. And the second thing is to have visualization. Our brain, our subconscious mind, doesn't differentiate between what is real and what is imagined. And athletes, Olympic athletes, other athletes, they do this very well. They can actually visualize themselves creating that scene of where they are winning the event before it's even happened. And I would say to any of my clients, this is such an important technique, to see yourself being able to, in the future, down the track, creating that successful outcome.
Okay, so some people would just call that daydreaming. And it's just like, what are you wasting your time daydreaming for? I mean, how are we going to manage that and say, well, no, I'm not just daydreaming. I'm actually visualizing a goal. So we can't just keep it all in our brain, right? I mean, I forget stuff all the time. Okay, so if I can daydream all I want, I can visualize all I want, and then I can go, where am I supposed to be here now? Should we just like mind map this, or get a journal, or I think we have to communicate with ourselves solidly, physically somehow, to remember or remind us what we're doing. Is that good to do?
Absolutely. But this is also where the plan comes in. And I would say to you, you could also make the plan a visual plan. You don't have to just write it down in terms of kind of a boring business plan. You can create a manifesting board. You can create little sticky notes of what you are trying to create and put them in a place, like, for example, by your desk where you brush your teeth, to remind yourself that this is a goal that you are aiming for. So make it very real for yourself and put it somewhere where it's a reminder for you on a daily basis. This is what I'm aiming for. This is the past. This is what I'm aiming for. And you want to be able to see that, to remind you of what you are looking to achieve. And when it becomes visual, it becomes a lot more real.
So it doesn't matter what the tool is, as long as it's in your face as regularly as possible to keep you reminded of what you're doing, right?
Absolutely. And I would also say that when you have that there in your face as a reminder, then it's going to get you out of that slump. You know, when we were talking about those pajama days with Netflix,
Right.
if you have your goals on your board or on your wall somewhere, wherever it happens to be, then you can see it there very easily. You can refer to it and go, oh, yeah, absolutely. This is what I'm aiming for. And it almost like kicks you in the butt to just get you going again.
So sort of like you're vicariously scheduling out your events in a way. I mean, if you've completed point A, now we're going to point B and then point C, and just keep tracking and then roll down the line. And you can do it many different ways. Like you mentioned the visualization, I just realized I do that in a way. I use a dry erase marker and I do my short-term quick events on my mirror. And you know where we're looking at a mirror every day?
Yes.
Yep, and it's right there in front of me. And I say, oh, okay. And when I'm done, I wipe that off and put a new one on. But yeah, this is something I do. I thought was real fun. I thought I'd bring it up. So
I think it's a beautiful way to go. And this is where also the little goals come in. We feel much more incentivized when we can see that we are making progress. Imagine for a moment that you have a goal, a 5-year plan, 5 years. Well, between now and 5 years, that's a lot of days. So 365 times 5. Someone can do the math for us on that. So the point is, if you then have little goals in between at, say, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, just for the first year, to see that you're getting there towards that goal, then absolutely, it again is going to keep you incentivized. It's like, imagine, I know sometimes people have trouble saving and they put a money jar on their desk, and every time they have like $1 or $2 or whatever currency you have, you put your spare change into that glass jar, and then as that glass jar starts to fill, you go, oh, I'm actually getting somewhere. I'm making some progress here. Same kind of thing.
So when you take your clients through this whole process, or do you I'm not say demand, but you do recommend that they find some way to make this tangible? And what's the biggest one you see? Give me a story about your clients, about how they've actually been able to make this happen for themselves.
I've got a story, and it's related to a former client of mine from a couple of years ago. And this was actually a kind of like a delayed plan, because she had some circumstances in her life, in particular related to her dad, who was don't know if I should say, but I will say he was diagnosed as having terminal cancer. And she really wanted to move her business forward, but she was very much torn, because she also wanted to spend time with her father, because, hey, you don't know how long he's going to be around. And so what we did together was to basically work with her in such a way that we could set up the goals and those little things that she could do in the meantime that didn't compromise the valuable time that she could have with her dad. And even though we didn't know when the end date was going to be, by putting little things into place, things like doing research, like putting just little bits of investigation in place before the action needed to get taken. Her dad did pass, and it was at the end of the year. It happened to be right after Christmas, after a big Christmas celebration. And even though she was heartbroken, because she had put those plans into place, we were able to move her forward then when she was ready. And it was like a much simpler process for her after obviously the grieving process. So even though you may have a situation where you cannot move right now, that doesn't mean that everything has to stop. So with this particular lady, I'm going to call her Dawn. Dawn did actually find that through working together and putting certain processes into place, that it did actually help her with the whole situation with her dad as well.
So you're just reinforcing to me that no matter what plan of action you have in place, it's going to fail at some point because life happens. You can just build the best plan you have and dang, I got a flat tire. I can't get there, or what have you. And having that plan in place helps us move forward because we have the plan, right?
It does, but if I may just pick you up on something that I heard you say that even though you may have a plan, plans fail. Now, did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. My mindset is a little bit different around that. I actually don't believe that failing is really failing. Now, what I mean by that, you can call it failure, but I prefer to call it a speed bump or a road bump, if you like. It's a hiccup. We can use other terminology. It means that there might be a slight delay, but it doesn't mean that it's a failure. And we do have situations that come into our life that are hiccups. They could be related to family. As you say, it could be a burst tire. It could be holiday plans that get disrupted. Those things are going to happen. And what is that saying? All the best laid plans can, fall apart. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that it's a failure, because essentially, if you have the end goal in mind, you're still going to get there. Think
That's
of
true.
it like the stock market. So the stock market goes up, 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 and then all of a sudden, doot, and it might go doot, but then it goes dut, 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 up, up, up. And yes, it's going to have little blips. Looks almost like a cardiogram, doesn't it? And that's what life is like too. But ultimately, the plan, by having the plan, same as the stock market, usually it does eventually go up.
So having the plan is there is nothing perfect, but having the plan is the best option as opposed to not having one. And when we get to
Absolutely.
those speed bumps and those roadblocks in front of us, the simple fact that we have a plan will help us go around them or over them a lot easier so we can keep moving forward.
Absolutely. And I know that there are people in your audience who are going to be listening to this and go, I don't do plans. I don't like plans. They're the people whose value are all about freedom. So for those people, I would say, let's do a plan, but let's keep the plan fairly loose so that it allows for their freedom value to be able to come in, and that they can still work with that rather than being totally restricted. And people who value freedom, anytime there's restrictions, they're going to go, nope, I don't want that. I'm not in. I'm not going to work with that. Whereas if you account for the value of freedom and keeping it flexible, then they're going to find that much easier to manage.
Okay, so it sounds okay. So what I'm hearing here is start with inside, idealize what it is we really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Develop some sort of plan for that kind of person. And if we're not, at least keep it loose, but we should have some sort of plan, no matter how much freedom we want. Because even if we want freedom, we need to figure out how to get to the slope, make sure our bindings are tight and our boots fit, right?
Nice.
So we're planning whether we like it or not. Get an accountability partner. Now, speaking of accountability partners, what's the best way to somebody who's not directly associated with you and your plan, or somebody who is, or somebody who's doing the same or similar path as you are? How can we track these people down?
Oh, say that again for me. Like, how can we track people down who are doing something similar to me, or someone who wants to contact
accountability
me?
partners. An accountability partner. Do I need a partner who is doing something similar to me, something divergent? Does it matter? And if so, which way should I go? Someone stay narrowly focused or broad, just to have the partner?
Okay, now I understand your question. Thank you for clarifying that. In terms of an accountability partner, it can be pretty much anybody. But I would say to you, maybe not immediate family. Our immediate family aren't always our best supporters or the people who will keep us on track. It's great if you have family that you get on really well with and are really close with, but sometimes our immediate family want to keep us in our safe spot. So they're
Right.
not going to be there to really stretch us. So you might have someone that you know through, for example, a colleague in your business, a colleague in a work environment. It might be a friend of a friend, for example. It could even be your friend. It could be someone who you meet that is new through a hobby, through networking. So the possibilities really are pretty endless. But I would just say you set the parameters on what you want to achieve. How often do you want to meet? Once a week, once a month, anything in between? And what are the things that you want to keep yourself accountable on? And does the accountability involve something like what we're doing here? Is it going to be a Zoom chat? Is it going to be text messages in between the actual calls? You set the parameters on what you feel will work for you.
Now, when you set that parameters on what's going to work for you, we can be myopically focused on the specific project or program we're working on, or we can be broadly focused on a lifestyle type of event, right?
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be just to do with, for example, work or business. You might have accountability on a hobby. Pretend for a moment that you want to get better at your golf. So
Okay.
what is it that you need to do to get better at your golf swing, of hitting the par five, in getting that closer to that ball closer to the hole? So yeah, it can be related to pretty much anything.
So when we take these skills and we put them together, it seems to me like we can use them in many different venues or formats. I can
Yes.
use that in my family and interpersonal relations. I can use these in business or entrepreneurial type of events. So they're pretty much similar. Might not always be the same, but they are similar and they can be used across the board, right?
Very much so. Yeah. They really are transient. You don't have to have them just for this one thing. You can transform them into very much any part of your life.
And that's where the freedom comes in, right?
Very much so.
I love it. That's great. Now, Dagmar, we've talked about a lot of stuff here right now. Identifying a plan of action, and you have this little resource of yours. And what do you call that again? It starts with all the E's. You got all those E's in there.
I called it the Elite Empowerment Experience.
Elite Empowerment Experience. I got to write this down.
Actually, I called it sorry, forgive me, hashtag subject to change. I am actually changing it. My new terminology is the Essential Empowerment System. So I am changing it. I am working on it. I'm taking my own advice. I am transforming it as I learn new things, as I work with new clients. I put new things in, I take other things out. So I do adapt it as it goes.
Well, that's so, like growing up, our shoe size changes for quite a while until we finally get stuck on one size. So it's part of the growth process, right? We keep updating and readjusting things.
Very
So
much.
Dagmar, is there anything that we haven't covered that you think is important or significant that you would like to share with the audience?
The only other thing, and because we are talking about communication, is that there are many forms of communication. So we've talked about our values, we've talked about our beliefs, but communication isn't just about what we say. It can be little things like eye contact. So, for example, if somebody doesn't look you in the eye, you might automatically assume that they are being shifty or evasive, perhaps that they're not telling you the truth. So eye contact when we're communicating is so very important. What we do with our hands, very important. So if we are being honest and open, we might want to have open hands. Our gestures are part of who we are. And if you notice, a lot of the cultures, especially in the Mediterranean, the Italians, the Greek, oh, hello, and you know, very embracing their gestures. So all I'm saying with communication is that there is so much more to our communication than just what we say. It's how we look, it's how we present, and it's also how we listen. because our communication involves listening as well. And when I say listening, what I mean is active listening. We want to be totally present when someone is talking to us, because if we're not listening properly, especially in a work, business, or even a personal relationship situation, if we're not listening, then we can miss some very key points and then totally muck it up.
Yeah, but the listening is also a learned skill, because most of us are sitting here thinking we're listening while we're planning on what we're going to say next. So that's part of our culture. That's how we've been raised. So we need to sort of get over ourselves at some point and become better by listening better, right?
Absolutely. And that's where our communication then improves as well. When we're listening, as well as all of the other things that we're doing with our communication, our relationships improve across the board.
So Dagmar, tell me, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you and identify some way that maybe they could work with you or you could support whatever their venture is, how could they do that?
Well, I would absolutely love your audience to get in touch with me just to have a chat and to see if there is something we can do to work together. My website is dagmarbryant.com. If you want to connect with me on social media, I'd absolutely love to see you on LinkedIn. Pretty easy to find me. I'm Dagmar Bryant, business coach and award-winning speaker.
Okay, that sounds like a plan, Dagmar. So now, something that most people don't know about you. What is it? Something that you would not usually discuss in this conversation, but it's okay for mom and dad to listen about. Tell me a story about something that excites you that you have going on or had going on.
Well, I'm not sure if this how appropriate this is, but I very much believe in guardian angels, and I believe that they are there to help us, to guide us, to give us encouragement along the way. So if you're ever needing some help and some encouragement, ask your guardian angels or your angels to give you a hand.
So you're probably someone's guardian angel yourself and you just don't even know it.
Oh, you are so sweet.
All right, Dagmar. Well, thank you very much for your time, your energy. And I look forward to seeing how we're going to get some feedback on this. I'm always looking forward to the questions that come out of these. And I will make sure that these links and this information will be down on your speaker page. So people, when they watch this interview, they'll be able to go down and I find a way to contact you, reach out to you. All right, Dagmar, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. For those of you who are listening, this is Friday, even though it might not be Friday when you're watching this, but today is Friday. Dagmar, you have a wonderful weekend, okay?
And you, thank you.
So Dagmar, before we leave, you just brought up something while we were offline for just a minute that we didn't discuss, the 6 habits. So tell me about this free download, the 6 habits that you're offering to our listeners.
Absolutely. So my free download is the 6 money habits of the 6-figure entrepreneur. And even if you are sitting there listening, thinking, I'm not yet a 6-figure entrepreneur, these habits are valuable to shift your mindset into being able to achieve those higher goals. And if you'd like to download that, totally free, jump onto my website, dagmarbryant.com. It's down there at the bottom of the page.
So you can use some of these skills and tools in the 6 habits for the 6-figure entrepreneur for other things besides making money, right?
Oh, very much so. There are definitely techniques in there that are valuable for shifting your mindset and how you view yourself and how you can interpret that and how you can use that in your day-to-day life. It doesn't just have to apply to business.
All right, Dagmar. Well, thank you for bringing that up. And we're going to make sure that everybody knows all about that. They need to go get those 6 figures for 6 habits for 6 figures and up-level their communication skills by up-leveling their leadership skills. Dagmar, you take care and have a wonderful weekend, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Hello there. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share, and take advantage of our limited time special offer at www.eapready.com.